Hey guys, just talking to you guys today about bolt action and contrast paints and why they go so well together. So recently I started bolt action just kind of on a whim. I've always mildly intended to play it, but I know that there's not a ton of players in my area, at least to my knowledge. Whenever I went to a local convention, I think there were maybe 2 or 3 guys playing it. So it's not super popular in my area, but I figure if I build up enough kind of an army, I can kind of swindle some friends into playing. So either way, just kind of wanted to touch on why contrast paints are perfect for bolt action. First off, bolt action's figures are very textured. They have a lot of wrinkles in the fabric. Their helmets have texture. Their backpacks have texture. Their boots, their skin, their hands, even the faces. Let's see if we can get a zoom in on this guy. Really are relatively detailed. So, all in all, contrast paints are perfect for this type of stuff because that's what contrast paints are made for being used with. They can't be used on flat surfaces, hence my absolutely destroyed half track, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. But contrast paints basically you spray an area either like a bright gray or a white, and the contrast paint is like a wash and it settles into the recesses and it thins out in the high points in the model, creating natural highlights as it's very translucent, so the white shines through and helps create natural highlights. So like you can see on this guy right here in the creases it's dark, and then on the high points of the model it's a lot brighter of a green, but it's all the same green. But yeah, so for both my Americans and my Germans, I don't think I use more than 2, 4, 6 contrast paints. So that's going to cost you, oh God, I haven't done math in so long. I don't even know. I think they're like $8 a pot. So was that 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48... like 46, $50 right in that area with tax. So it's going to cost you about $50 in paint. Obviously the flock and stuff like that is my own devising and whatnot. But yeah, no, I mean, it's super duper cheap and easy to paint them. The Americans have 1, 2, 3, 4 total. No, 3, 4 total contrast paints on them, and the Germans have a little bit more because of their helmets and stuff like that. But and the Germans are a little bit more complicated because you have to mix 2 colors to make the colors right. But yeah, all in all, this was super easy to do. I don't think I spent more than total time, maybe 8 hours with building, with clipping, building, and getting the bases ready, but maybe a total out time of like 5, maybe 6 hours of paint tops. The tanks are both, the tank and the half track are both 100% contrast paints. The only real paint that I used here was the true metallic lead belcher on all the weapons and stuff like that, just because I didn't like the ballisticum, I can't pronounce it, but the basically the gray black color that is the Citadel contrast paint. But yeah, no, contrast paints are absolutely 110% perfect for bolt action. The tank I did by adding a little bit of reducer into my contrast and running it through my airbrush, hence how I got the pattern on there. I did the same thing on the half track, but I did not realize that it needed to be thinned first, hence why it's got the big old nasty patches and stuff all over it, because it exploded out of the airbrush. So I tried to brush it on and it made it look horrible, so I had to do this really ugly camo pattern all over it. So it kind of worked out in the end, but I wish it had turned out more like the tank. With the contrast, you kind of have to work from bright to dark because the dark is unforgiving. Once it's on an area, it's pretty much stuck there. So like the tank, I did the light tan first and moved my way onto the brown and the green. Some of Warlord's models are still metal, so it's kind of a hassle. You can see there, you can see on the base, there's still patches of white where the metal ones, I had to glue the soldiers onto the base first because they have a big metal plate underneath them where they attach to the base. So it was really hard to work with them. I'm not a huge fan of metal models. It was a solid cast, so the guys are whatever position in, that's what they look like whenever you get them out of the box. They take paint really well, but I preferred the plastic guys, which are kind of more so that half right there, and then this half of the Americans were metal. So yeah, a little difficult to work with, but all in all, models look great, super detailed. That's why the contrast paints works for them. And yeah, I love it, and I think that contrast paints and me are going to be getting along quite well for quite some time. And I guess I'll keep you guys updated on if I build up the armies more, or maybe even do a battle report. I know it's a pretty quick and easy game, so, and yeah, so anyway, contrast paint's perfect for bolt action, and I hope that you can get some use out of them. I will post a link to the video for the Germans, and then also the link for the it's kind of like a blog post that a guy did, but he basically painted all of the types of soldiers that you can use in World War II. He did like the Japanese, the British, Airborne, he did the American Army, he did German Grenadiers, he did, there's a couple other different types of German, but yeah, he was really helpful in me picking out the colors and choosing the schemes and figuring out how to do everything. So yeah, anyways, this is the army, and I hope you guys like it. See ya.